All right. So that was all the news this week.
Oh,
No, it wasn't.
boy.
No, it wasn't.
So
Let's get to the big one.
The big one this
one.
week.
The big kahuna.
Disney. I can't even. It's crazy.
You're crying.
I'm crying right now.
You're crying and laughing.
Disney Sony standoff ends Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige's involvement with Spider-Man. This is coming from Mike Fleming Jr. of Deadline. Let me read this, and then we're going to go into it.
Okay.
Because I just want to read out all the facts.
Just let us know.
So then we could get into it fully. Okay.
Okay.
Whew. Strap yourselves in.
Oh God.
Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige won't produce any further Spider-Man films because of an inability by Disney and Sony Pictures to reach a new term that would have given the former a co-financing stake going forward. A dispute that has taken place over the past few months at the top of Disney and Sony essentially nixed Feige and the future involvement of Marvel from the Spider-Man universe, sources said. This comes at the moment when the last two Kevin Feige produced broke all-time records. Disney Avengers Endgame became the highest-grossing film of all time, and Spider-Man Far From Home this week surpassed James Bond Skyfall to become the highest-grossing film for Sony Pictures ever. Whew. This is a lot of webbing here, but it all comes down to money, as it always does. And it's easy to understand why both sides refuse to give any ground. Disney asked the future Spider-Man films to be a 50-50 co-financing agreement between the studios, and there were discussions that this might extend to other films in the Spider-Man universe. Sony turned down that offer flat. Sources said Sony, led by Tom Rothman and Tony, something I can't pronounce,
Vinciquera.
came back with other configurations, but Disney did not want to do that. But Sony did not want to share its biggest franchise. Sure, Disney would be putting up half the funding, but the risk is how much you are going to make back in profit. Disney wasn't all that interested in continuing the current terms where Marvel receives in the range of 5% of the first dollar gross, sources said. So I know I just threw out a lot of words at you guys right now. What are your initial hot takes from this? Because the internet right now
is on fire.
The top 50 trending topics worldwide right now are all Spider-Man related.
Yeah.
So where are you guys standing with this right now?
Crazy. This is crazy. Crazy news.
Yeah. This
It's
literally
like-
came 10
it's-
minutes after the Matrix news.
It kind of has like this, mob feel to it. It's
does,
like,
yeah.
we gave you Spider-Man for, for the first 3 years. You made $1 billion
Yeah.
in first 3 movies. And they're like, not anymore. Because
Right.
we want 50-50 now. And it's just, and Sony's like, nah, we're not doing that.
So is
And
it
it's just-
50% of the financing costs?
The financing costs, which then I believe because they're upping 50% of the financing costs, they get money back. They get more money back.
More
than
money
they would
back.
in the first.
Which I get because they want to put up the money to help do it, and then I
Yeah.
guess they'll get a bigger percentage of the box office.
Yes.
Not 50% of the box office, but because right now they're only getting like 5% back of the first earnings or whatever that.
What does that even mean?
I'm not too
First
sure.
earnings?
Is that like the first couple weeks?
First 3 weeks.
First 3 weeks of its run, where
5%.
where movies make the majority of their box office.
Right, and also Disney gets merchandising too, I think, right?
Yeah, because Disney owns Marvel, so they make their merchandising
Which is
theirs.
They-
Right?
money.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. Sony is looking like the villains right now
100%.
because they don't want to play ball. Everyone's super upset at that, and I could understand where people are coming from too, because when you look at the track record of Sony
Not great.
pre-Marvel Studios is not great. No. We have Spider-Man 3.
It's actually a lot of hit and misses kind of thing.
Spider-Man 3?
No, I mean, in terms of like their Spider-Man 3, a different conversation, but
Yeah.
it grows on you in a weird way,
In
in
a
a symbiotic way.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get into that another day.
Yeah.
But Sony's track record, Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire, I
Great.
love them, grew
Right.
up with them, so I love them.
Right.
Okay? 3, not so great.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, garbage.
Right,
But then you get Spider-Verse.
right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the most, I think that's my favorite.
I think if you're looking at, and again, I'm seeing that because that's a post that's a post Marvel Studios world. Even though Marvel Studios isn't attached to that, it still has Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who I think when Sony was looking at how Marvel makes their movies, they were like, let's trust in the creators.
Yeah.
Right? That's the biggest thing that I got from that arrangement, is that Marvel trusts in the director's vision more than anything. Now more than ever. Not a pre like Age of Ultron world, right? But I'm talking Phase 3. It's very more director driven. Even though they film Marvel films, there's still the feel of a director there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phil Lord and Chris Miller did Spider-Verse. We have the Spider-Man video game, which it was an amazing in its own right. It's the highest grossing or highest selling PS4 game of all time. And just yesterday too, Sony acquired Insomniac.
It was amazing.
Which is great. And then today it's like Sony's like, no, now we're not gonna
So
renegotiate as well.
Who wins
right?
in this?
We all lose.
war.
Right
we all
now,
lose,
right?
man. Fans are losing right now.
Fans lose.
Fans lose because
Disney loses.
yeah, and Sony loses too.
Sony
right?
loses huge too.
But does Sony lose because they always have Spider-Man?
If
they make another Spider-Man movie, people are going to watch it.
That's
Right.
the worst
So
part.
they don't lose. It's just that fans lose because the storyline is probably going to be trash.
Right. Well, because we don't know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things was like when Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, and I guess a year later when the email hack happened with the Sony emails, there's a list, literally an email that Kevin Feige sent Sony of all the things to change in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it just shows where he is as a creator of like this is of understanding who Spider-Man is, right?
He loves it.
He
Right?
loves Spider-Man, right? That was like one of the first films he produced. He was a producer on, right? It was Spider-Man, like with the X-Men and everything in the early 2000s,
Right.
So it just sucks because like I don't want to have an MCU that doesn't have Spider-Man in it,
No.
and I don't want to have a Spider-Man world where the first two films literally each villain has been created because of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Now they just won't reference Tony Stark anymore. You know what I mean?
That's
It's just
and I really hope this is just a mild blip, and I hope a mild speed bump, and I
Yeah.
hope like there's
But
no
it's
way
pretty,
they can.
like intense though. Like the
It's very
way
intense.
Deadline wrote it,
yeah,
it was like this is the relationship is over,
right.
and everything is going down.
Yeah, no. Some insiders in the industry were like, "Well, let's wait and see. There's still potential that things could happen."
There needs to be.
But
Why
no,
hasn't Disney tried to buy Spider-Man?
Because
They can't.
Like how much money do you think Sony would ask for Spider-Man? Would it just be like, yeah, we want $200 billion for Spider?
I
You know,
don't-
like is he more than a franchise?
that's more than Fox.
Like, is he?
That's more than they bought 20th Century
Yeah,
Fox.
is he
for.
more than a sports team? Like how much?
How much? What's the number? Right?
Because if you look at like, if there's going to be a Spider-Man movie for the next
there's going to be one Spider-Man movie a year, pretty much.
one
going forward,
one a year,
well, at least one a year. It looks like
a live action Spider-Man.
Of some sort, right? Because like they already said this. The Tom Holland Spider-Mans are every other year. He's appeared in the Avengers movie. He's been in a. There's been a Spider-Man coming out since 2016. He's been in a movie, and then we've had Venom, and then we had Into the Spider-Verse, and then Venom 2 is probably going to be next year,
Morbius.
and then Morbius.
Yeah.
So like we're going to have these characters at least one film a year, right?
So do you do they pay for him, or do they attack in a different way? Like whenever there's a big budget Sony movie coming out, Disney automatically puts in their movie
Puts in their box office.
puts a movie out there to compete with their film. So Sony bleeds money and not earns it. So then
Right, but-
you create this like this friction that you're not making money. I'll buy Spider-Man off you. Here's $10 billion.
And we've seen that the Sony stocks have
Oh,
dropped
plummeted,
a
yeah.
lot, right? So it's
Yeah.
like now Disney could come in and be like, no, like Disney's gonna have a negotiating
Because Sony has
hand here, right?
Who else do they have? Like what other franchises do they
Sony?
have?
They don't. That's the thing.
Jumanji,
Jumanji,
But that's why. Like that's
James
why.
Bond.
not
Yes.
anymore, right?
So
Well,
No, they're not. They don't have the license, I think, for James Bond. They were only distributors on James Bond.
Oh, okay.
I'll get that, but you guys continue.
but like here's the thing. So if that's really if that's the best toy you have in your house, you're gonna hang on to that and never share it with anybody else. So as much as it sucks and as crappy as it is as Sony's doing this, I think it's absolutely awful. It's almost like if Disney at least wants to go with fans, like just I guess maybe stick to the original deal as much as it sucks.
Right. But it sucked more for Disney than Sony.
100%. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. It sucked more for Disney.
Right.
It definitely did. I'm not gonna say that,
Yeah.
but at the expense of the fans.
Yeah. Like
Just take it.
Take
I
it.
mean,
Take
like,
the L.
just do it here. I mean, Disney. I know you want money for sure, and I
Right.
get that. But
And you're coming off a record year already.
you come up for a record
Right.
year. Like just at this point, I would say, as painful as it is, do it for the fans. And if that kid isn't gonna share with you their toy, like you just gotta
Right.
play nicely with them.
So
send in Mickey.
the for James Bond, yeah.
Correct.
So Sony lost the distribution rights for it.
Oh, okay.
So I guess Spectre was the last one. So now Universal has worldwide distribution, and United Artists Releasing gets it in the States.
Well, it's gonna be weird seeing.
Yeah, because remember they were
Universal
shopping.
logo.
They were like the I guess the
MGM
was
right.
the Broccoli family or whatever was shopping it around.
Yeah.
Because they have they own the rights to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we see Sony in the last few months, there was a story a few weeks back with Phil Lord and Chris Miller basically coming on as producers to create Spider-Man content, shows, and movies. Right.
Yeah.
Venom 2 is getting a lot of steam with Tom Hardy and Andy Serkis coming on to direct.
Who's the cinematographer again? He did.
From Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and
yeah.
he shot with Scorsese and everything as well too.
Yeah.
So Sony has a plan for Spider-Man, and I think we got an inkling of this when Phase 4 was being announced, and even though it's not a Disney property, I would assume if Disney was on better terms with Sony at that point, there's no doubt in my mind that Kevin Feige would have announced the next Spider-Man film
100%,
either.
yeah.
Right?
We know John Watts is attached to 2 more, and so is Tom Holland.
So actually, John Watts isn't attached to the next
he's
one.
not? Okay.
So he was only attached to the first one, and then they signed him on for a second. So we don't know if John Watts is coming back. We know Tom Holland is signed on. And I feel bad for Tom Holland as well, because he's kind of caught in this tug of war right now.
Poor kid.
You know, where he's what could he say?
He just
right?
wants to. He just wants to play Spider-Man. That's
Yeah,
it.
and you know, I know, I don't mean for it to come off like we're bashing Sony either, because we know when Andrew Garfield basically got fired, he got fired from Sony in such a a petty way.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear how he got fired?
No, I didn't hear.
So basically, Sony Pictures was having an event in Brazil, and he was scheduled to make an appearance, and he was sick, and he canceled on that, and basically whoever Sony Pictures producer at that time or the head of Sony Pictures was so offended by that, they ended up axing him.
Wow.
Yeah, nixing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was super petty.
That's very petty.
It was super petty how it ended, and again, we know Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't great. It didn't light up the box office, but
not good at all.
it just
yeah.
do you remember that in 2015 in February? I remember messaging you guys and being like, dudes. Sony and Marvel made a deal for Spider-Man, and that was seeing him in Civil War was one of the greatest moments.
Yeah.
Right?
So technically, Andrew Garfield getting fired was a great thing.
Yeah, it was.
As petty as it was,
As petty as it was
a great thing.
The deal came through, right?
Yeah.
That deal happened.
So thank you for being sick to that day.
Thank you.
Andrew.
So we got some write-in responses. So we put it out there about trying to get the feelers of how everyone's feeling. Obviously, everyone's
people
upset.
are pissed.
We got some people saying reboot, here we come. Do you think there's any chance that Sony reboots Spider-Man again?
No.
Do you think there's any chance Tom Holland's I will not be Spider-Man if it's not in the MCU?
I think that they have as awful as it sounds, I think they could. And that's the worst part about it.
Me too. I don't think it's past them to do it.
It's not past them to do it.
Yeah.
Could Disney just cast Tom Holland as the
Man Spider?
Man Spider?
Spider-Man.
Or they just make a Spider-Man movie and just pay the fine.
Pay the copyright?
Yeah.
Like a whole movie?
Just invite
What do we
Holland
do?
over to film on
We're
set.
so rich, we'll just pay
His
the
Spider-Man logo's upside down.
Yeah.
Bizarro Spider-Man.
Asha says it's crazy. Sony is crazy. It's money.
Agreed.
Carlos says, what? No! That's what Carlos said.
Oh, man.
Jairus says they'll reach $1 billion deal. It will be insane. Victor says, what the actual fuck? So this is interesting here. So Dan says, if Lord and Miller find their hands on Sony produced Spider-Man film, I'm okay with this. Do you think there's a chance that they'll step in as directors and not bring back Tom Watts after what he's done with these first 2 films?
I don't see that. I feel like they've got a lot on their plate right now. I think they've got a lot on their plate.
I feel like we're hearing about them in every single franchise at this point, right?
Here's the thing. Maybe producing or some sort of writing, maybe.
Right.
But at the same time, I think they're also not in the MCU enough right now, or they're too far away from that.
Right.
Yeah.
To do this at that moment would be too fast. And,
Right.
And it wouldn't come off organically.
Right.
I think it'd be way too weird seeing that. As much as I want to see it.
Yeah. Griffin says, silly on both sides. Couldn't just come to an agreement. Wonder if it was all about that money. And
It's always about the
100%
money.
It's always about the money. And that's the
about
thing. At the
money.
end of the day, as shitty as Sony is doing this, and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Disney, we just gotta take an L here, and we just need Spider-Man in
Yeah.
the MCU. We just need Spider-Man.
If
in
you
the
were Bob Iger right now, so Bob Iger,
Bobby
obviously-
Eye, yeah.
Bobby Eyes, you know, Bobby Eyes, We're
Bobby
talking about
Eyes. That's like his mob name, eh?
Bobby Eyes,
Bobby
eh?
Two Eyes.
Bobby Two Eyes.
So
Why do they call him that? Because he has two eyes.
there's two eyes.
He's always watching.
Which one is which? It's
He's
1 and 2.
always watching.
Damn, these Pixar,
Lot of Disney
this
references,
is
eh?
going deep.
See?
So, rumor is that Bob Iger called the head of EA last year,
Yeah.
or 2 years ago,
during
when
the whole microtransaction.
during the microtransaction fiasco
that.
with EA.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that now that all this is happening with the Sony stock and everything, this is painting, I guess, both studios not in the best light right now?
Yeah.
So, do you think there's any chance that Bob Iger is like, okay, let me make a call,
Yeah.
and they settle? I wouldn't be surprised if we have some type of resolution with this in the next.
Think
week.
about like the stock owners.
Yeah,
He wants to make everyone happy, right?
yeah.
And a lot of stock owners are fans of Spider-Man. It's just like,
That's what it is.
yeah, it's just what it is. So he probably called Sony or whoever the head of Sony is.
If I know Bobby Two Eyes, he's probably gonna pick up that phone right now and call Sony and be like, "Hey,
how would it sound, Shay?
hey, listen here. Who's the head of Sony?
I'll get
We
that.
don't even
Mr.
know.
Sony.
Is he Sony?
So are we talking head of Sony or head of Sony Pictures?
Head of Sony Pictures.
Or do you think he just goes to the top of Sony?
He goes to
he's talking- He's literally talking to his
Tony
TV.
He's talking to his
Vince
PS4
Cara.
right now.
He's like,
He's like, listen here, you PS4. You know who you're dealing with? You with Bobby Two Eyes.
Oh, is Kaz Hirai still the head of Sony? Oh, he hasn't
no,
left
he
yet.
left, right? He left, didn't he?
Oh, he retired June 18th. Yeah.
This year?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would still be like Bob.
Hey,
call
Kazzy.
Kaz. You know, get your giant enemy crab. Remember from E3?
Oh, yes. I was like,
so these
what
are based
reference?
on historical events, and here's a giant enemy crab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope at this point Bob Iger steps in, or some now the big people come off their pedestals and like, yo, let's fix
all the
this.
statues.
Michael Eisner comes out of
All
nowhere.
the statues at Disneyland start moving and shit.
No, we have
Like-
Michael Eisner come back, and
Michael Eisner comes back.
Comes
and makes-
back.
Oh god.
Walt Disney comes back. He's
From the
frozen,
grave.
right?
Steve
So he's
Jobs
like,
comes
"Meh."
back. And
Is Ron Disney still alive?
who? Ron Disney is still alive. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's Ron?
He's
The brother or the nephew. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the nephew, not the brother. The brother's dead.
Brother,
Yeah,
yeah.
his nephew.
Yeah.
Wait, his nephew.
What are we talking about?
His nephew calls. He's like, "Hey, listen here.
I have no stake in this, but
I just want to say, I'm Ron Disney.
I'm a fan of Spider-Man.
I just-
He has strep throat as
He
well,
has
by the way.
he's a little sick.
He's a little sick.
He came down with the flu when he heard the news.
Why doesn't my TV work, Sony?
I got a Sony TV, huh?
My PlayStation is so loud whenever I'm playing a game.
Why is God of War such a good game?
Yeah, it's a weird situation, you know, and I feel like
Fans are hurt, both sides.
the internet is ablaze right now, and we're commenting on it because we are feeling.
What can the
we're-
fans do to
I think
help this situation?
respectfully
Should we
show
ri-
their.
Should we
they're
wrid a
upset.
petition? Should we
Change.org.
start a petition?
Change.org.
I'm just kidding.
Guarantee you, it's already up.
Oh yeah, I bet you.
I
Six are
guarantee you, it's probably.
What would be what's the synopsis of that change.org?
Keep Spider-Man in the MCU. Sign here.
out. Sign here. Share with your friends on Facebook.
Make Tom Holland a different character. Make him Man Spider.
That's one that
Yeah.
one that we're making.
that we're making that.
Here's the thing. Okay.
Yeah, break it
Simple
down.
question here.
Oh, question. Okay.
Simple question. Do you think we'll be okay?
Yes.
Do you think we'll be okay?
Like we'll be okay. Like in the grand scheme of things, do you think we'll come
Yes.
to a resolution?
Yes, 100%.
That we're all okay with.
Yes.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, what about you?
I think we will be.
I think we
honestly
will be
think.
too.
I
I think
know
this is
we're
an
reacting.
overreaction right now.
We
Yeah.
we had a meeting of the minds. We brought the fellowship together
We
once
did.
again, because I think it's important for us to talk about.
And that's how media does it, right? The
You know?
media sends out an article that will literally set the internet ablaze. When I bet the Sony and Disney meeting wasn't even that intense. It's probably like a quick text message between
Like,
the two back and
How
forth.
about this? Yes or no?
No, and then
No. These two-
and then he lost service because he was in a tunnel, so he couldn't respond back.
His phone died, man. He
these
didn't
two
respond.
babies in a playpen, and they're just throwing toys at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is
And one
Spider-Man
started
toys.
crying, and Spider-Man was on Sony's side, and then Disney started crying, and then
That was it.
And then Deadlight's like, "Damn, this is going down. Oh, we should."
Yeah, Justin Kroll, whoever it was from Deadline.
Fleming Jr.
Mike Fleming Jr. is like,
Tell
yeah.
me more. Tell me more. Yeah.
I think we'll be okay.
I
Yeah.
think so. And my biggest hope and it sucks as much as it sucks for us. I hope by the time this episode is live, this is irrelevant.
Yeah.
This is like
you were just listening to three idiots.
you're listening for the last 20 minutes talking about Spider-Man. Look how upset they were, and there wasn't
Screw
even,
those guys.
and there was nothing to worry about.
They made me
Come back
listen to
season
this.
2. Yeah.
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 But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, were we Ron Disney again?
No, we were. Who are we? Bobby Two Eyes.
Bobby Two
Bobby
Eyes.
Two
Bobby Two Eyes. We have to keep his name. That's his name.
That's his
Whenever
name.
we
Good old
reference
Bobby
Bob
Two
Iger,
Eyes. Yeah,
Bobby Two
Bobby
Eyes.
had 2 eyes.
And
But he doesn't even have 2 eyes in his name, though,
And then
does he?
so whoever
No,
runs
he's got 2
Sony,
eyes.
He has 2 eyes.
yeah, Bobby Two Eyes. Whoever
Does he wear glasses? Shit.
No, he doesn't.
Oh,
No.
thank God.
But whoever runs Sony is Mr. Sony.
Yeah, Mr.
He doesn't
Sony.
have a name. They just
No,
call him Mr.
Mr.
Sony.
Mr.
Mr.
Sony and
Sony.
Bobby Two Eyes. Please, for the sake of the fans,
Work
if
it
you're,
out.
we know you're listening to our show. You know, we know Bobby Two Eyes is listening to this
He
right
always
now.
is.
Throw us a bone and bring Spider-Man home.
Oh,
That's
Ooh,
that's
that's-
your-
Did
that's-
you?
is that your-
How long did you?
Yeah.
I literally just thought of it right now.
No.
I just thought of it right
Okay,
now.
think of another one. Okay.
You know, okay, I did. When Shay and I were making our song for No Time to Die. What's it called?
Yeah,
No Time to Die?
I forgot the name of the song
Yeah,
was now.
No Time to Die. We come up on the spot.
Throw us a bone, bring Spider-Man home. Is
Yeah,
that what
throw
we're
us a
gonna mark
bone.
The streets with?
Bring Spider-Man home.
Throw us a bone, bring Spider-Man home.
You know, Mr. Sony,
Bobby Two Eyes.
Bobby Two Eyes. You know what you have
get
to
it
do.
together.
You got. You know what you got to do.
See the bigger picture here.
Is that the Sony slogan? Is that the IMAX
No,
slogan?
that's the Bobby Two Eyes slogan. Yeah, see the bigger picture.
Okay. Well,
He's pointing at his phone while he's doing it.
You think you got a Sony's phone too?
if you want to be part of the show, we didn't say this at the top of the show.
We didn't.
If
Yes.
you want to be part of the show, we have season 2 officially starting in September. Again, unless something else earth-shattering
Earth-shattering
happens,
happens.
and we will have a meeting of the minds again. If you want to be part of the show, please write into thistimewith.com/talk. We love hearing from you. Thank you to everybody who wrote in today.
Yes, thank you.
That helps so much. We love hearing from you and hearing your feedback. The movie podcast is going to be coming back in September. We're going to be coming back for TIFF. We'll let you know how our experience of buying TIFF tickets goes. That happens next week. So stay tuned for our thoughts on how that's going. And yeah, that's about it. That was this time with the movie podcast.
And we'll see you next.